I pulled the trigger on my own life the day I married into the Hawthorne family. But I didn't know it until the night I caught ELIAS Hawthorne, my father-in-law, staring at the safe in my office like it was his personal ATM. He'd always been the silver-tongued patriarch, the one who preached family loyalty over boardroom battles. But there he was, fingers trembling as he punched in the code I'd never shared. The safe clicked open, and he pocketed a stack of bearer bonds worth $500,000, my $500,000. The seed money for the expansion that could have saved Hawthorne Imports from the brink. And the kicker? He looked right at me through the security feed on my phone, smiled like we'd just closed a deal, and whispered, "For the family, Isabella." Always for the family. He didn't know I'd rigged the system years ago. After the first loan he took without asking. Every cent, every wire transfer, every ghost entry in the books, I tracked it all in real time. A digital noose I'd woven from paranoia and love gone sour. That night, as sirens wailed outside my Tribeca loft, I didn't call the cops. No, I called my husband, Victor, and told him to meet me at the office. "Your father's in trouble," I said, my voice steady as steel. Victor laughed it off at first. ELIAS was untouchable. The kingmaker who'd built this empire from a single shipping container in the 80s. But when he arrived and saw the footage, his face drained of color. "Izzy, this can't be." It could. And it was. The betrayal wasn't just the money. It was the lie that ELIAS had fed us all, that he was the rock, the provider, when really, he'd been chipping away at our foundation for decades. We'd met in the haze of Post 9/11 New York. Victor and me. The sharp-elbowed accountant from Queens with a nose for numbers and a chip on my shoulder the size of the Verrazano Bridge. Him. The golden boy of old money. Heir to a logistics dynasty that spanned from the ports of Jersey to the warehouses of LA. Our wedding was a spectacle. Black tie at the plaza, with ELIAS footing the bill and toasting to unbreakable bonds. But unbreakable? Bullshit. 6 months in, I discovered the first crack. ELIAS had been skimming from the company retirement fund, not enough to tank us, but enough to fund his mistress's Park Avenue co-op. Victor begged me to let it slide. He's family, Izzy. He's the only dad I've got left since Mom died. So I did. I cooked the books, buried the discrepancies under layers of offshore shells I'd learned to navigate in my forensic accounting days at Deloitte. I took the hit, sleepless nights, ulcers from the stress, the gnawing fear that one audit could land me in Sing Sing. For Victor. For the family. But ELIAS? He never stopped. Over the years, it became a game of cat and mouse. I'd plug the leaks. He'd find new pipes to burst. A consulting fee here. A vendor rebate there. By the time we hit 2025, with tariffs choking imports and AI automating half our dock workers, Hawthorne Imports was bleeding red. I poured my savings into it, $2 million for my side hustle consulting for startups, convinced I could turn the tide. ELIAS positioned himself as the savior, whispering in Victor's ear about legacy plays, all while siphoning funds to bail out his latest screw-up, a Ponzi scheme he'd greenlit with some Wall Street sharks who turned out to be feds in sheep's clothing. The secret he'd buried? It wasn't just greed. It was murder. In a manner of speaking. 20 years back, ELIAS had covered up a fatal warehouse accident. One of his underpaid immigrant workers crushed under a collapsing pallet stack because ELIAS cut corners on safety inspections to pad profits. The family lawyer, on ELIAS's peril, pinned it on the foreman, who took the fall and ate a bullet 6 months later. I'd found the files in a forgotten server during a routine purge. The kind of digital grave Elias thought was sealed forever. But I said nothing. I bore it. Like I bore everything. Because love makes monsters of us all. That confrontation in the office stretched into dawn. Victor paced like a caged lion, his Brooks Brothers shirt untucked, sweat beading on his forehead despite the AC blasting at Arctic levels. We confront him.
Izzy.
Together. Elias arrived at 6 a.m. Sharp, tailored as ever in a navy Brioni suit, his silver hair combed back like he was heading to a Senate hearing. He breezed in with coffee from Blue Bottle, my favorite, the bastard, and froze when he saw us. What's this? A family summit before the sun's up. Victor shoved the phone at him. The video looping, Elias's hand vanishing into the safe. For a heartbeat, the room hung in silence, thick as fog off the Hudson. Then Elias laughed a low, rumbling thing that echoed off the exposed brick walls. Come on, son. It's not what it looks. It's exactly what it looks like. I cut in, my voice a blade honed on too many late-night spreadsheets. 300 grand this quarter alone. Elias. And that's before we dig into the Cayman accounts. His eyes flicked to me, and there it was, the flip. From affable patriarch to cornered wolf in a blink. You think you're so smart, Isabella? Marrying into this family like some gold-digging calculator from the outer boroughs. Victor deserved better than your penny-pinching paranoia. Victor flinched, but I didn't. I'd heard worse from the old guard at my first job, the ones who saw a Latina with an MBA as an affirmative action fluke. Deserved better? Like you, who pimped out the company for your side pieces and cover-ups. That worker in '05, Raul Mendoza. Ring a bell? Or the foreman who offed himself because you hung him out to dry. Elias's face twisted, the mask cracking. He lunged for the desk phone, but Victor blocked him.
Dad.
Stop. Just. Explain. And, oh.
He did.
With the eloquence of a man who'd talked his way out of 3 DUIs and a divorce. It was necessary risks for the business. Sacrifices for our future. Victor bought it hook,
line,
and ledger because that's what sons do. They see the man who threw the ball, not the one who fumbled the empire. By noon, we'd agreed to a truce. Elias would repay in installments. No cops. No lawyers. But as he left, clapping Victor on the back with that crocodile grin, he shot me a look over his shoulder. Watch your step, Isabella. Families eat their own when they're hungry.
I didn't sleep that night.
Curled in our king bed overlooking the Hudson, Victor snoring beside me, I stared at the ceiling fan whirring like a guillotine blade. The betrayal festered, a poison seeping into my veins. It wasn't just the money, it was the erasure of my efforts, my sacrifices, the way Elias had turned me into the villain for daring to protect what I'd built. By morning, I'd made my decision. Revenge wasn't a word, it was a blueprint. I'd dismantle him piece by piece, starting with the truth he'd buried. But first, I needed leverage. Real leverage. The kind that doesn't just sting, it scars. The weeks blurred into a grind of double shifts and shadow ops.
By day,
I played the dutiful daughter-in-law, hosting Elias for Sunday roasts at our loft, where he'd pontificate about American grit over ribeye from Lobel's. Victor lapped it up, blind to the way Elias's eyes darted to the door, always one exit ahead. By night, I dove into the digital underbelly. Using my old Deloitte contacts, I hired a discreet investigator, ex-FBI. The kind who charges in crypto and doesn't ask for a 1099. His name was Marco, a grizzled Italian from Bensonhurst with a Brooklyn accent thick as espresso. "What do you got on this mook?" he growled over burner phones. I fed him everything: the safe footage, the Cayman trails, the Mendoza file. Dig deep. I want skeletons, not bones. Marco delivered in drips. USB drives left in Central Park dead drops, encrypted with passwords pulled from my abuela's rosary prayers. Elias's empire was a house of cards laced with rot. The Ponzi? Tied to a Russian oligarch who'd vanished after a yacht accident in Miami. The mistress? Not one, but three, each with trust funds he'd raided like piñatas. And the crown jewel, a 2012 email chain where Elias greenlit bribes to customs officials to wave through counterfeit Gucci from China, $10 million in fakes that nearly got Victor indicted when the Fed sniffed around. Elias had thrown his son under the bus, coaching him to lie to investigators, then swooping in with lawyers to save him. Victor never knew. I'd covered that one too, falsifying manifests to shift blame to a rogue subcontractor. For love. For family. What a fucking joke. But the real gut punch came on a rainy Thursday in October. Marco's latest drop included a scanned letter, yellowed and creased, dated 1995. Elias's handwriting, shaky from whatever vice gripped him then. It was to Victor's mother, Evelyn, confessing an affair, and worse. "I can't keep this up.
Eve.
The baby's not mine. Isabella's father. He knows. If it gets out, we're ruined."
Wait.
My father? The letter was addressed to Evelyn, but it mentioned the baby. Victor?
No.
It clicked like a chambered round. Me. I'd been born in '94. A scandalous teen pregnancy my mom buried under layers of Catholic guilt and Queen stoicism. But Elias? He'd been my mom's boss at a temp agency, the one who'd helped her with loans that turned into chains. The affair. The cover-up. Victor wasn't just my husband, he was my half-brother. Elias's blood, but not his seed. The secret he'd chiseled into my life from the start, and I'd married right into the grave. I vomited in the sink of a Duane Reade bathroom, the fluorescent lights buzzing like Judgment Day. How many times had Elias leered at me over Thanksgiving turkey? Knowing? Victor, oblivious, curling into me at night, his sister. The incestuous knot of it all twisted my stomach worse than any embezzlement. This wasn't revenge anymore, it was reckoning. I'd burn it all down, starting with the man who'd fathered my husband but not me, who'd stolen my innocence before I even knew what it was worth. The revelation sat like lead in my gut, but I didn't shatter, not yet. New York doesn't raise crybabies, it forges weapons from the wreckage. I stashed the letter in a safety deposit box uptown, next to my go bag and the Beretta I'd bought after a string of warehouse threats. Legal. Registered. The paperwork as clean as my conscience used to be. Victor noticed the shift in me first. "You're distant?"
Izzy.
"Like you're solving the world's puzzles without me." I forced a smile over takeout from Joe's Pizza, crust thin as excuses, and murmured, "Just the numbers."
Babe.
Always the numbers. He bought it. Because Victor always did. That's what made the lies so easy. And the truth so lethal. Elias. Though, he smelled blood. At the next board meeting in our Soho headquarters, a glass-walled area overlooking the chaos of Broadway, he cornered me by the Keurig. "You look peaked, Isabella." "Rough nights," His breath reeked of Altoids masking scotch, eyes sharp as a switchblade. I met his gaze, unflinching, just auditing the past. Elias. Some debts don't age well. He chuckled, but it was hollow. The sound of a man bluffing a full house with a pair of deuces. That afternoon, the first countermove landed, a whisper campaign. Board members, old cronies from Elias's poker nights at the Friars Club, started questioning my aggressive cost-cutting. Isabella's turning us into Walmart, one griped over golf at Shinnecock. Victor defended me. Of course. But the doubt seeded. Elias was flipping faces again. From thief to victim. Painting me as the cold-hearted being countergunning for his throne. I countered with subtlety. The scalpel to his sledgehammer. Using Marco's intel, I leaked anonymized tips to the Journal, nothing prosecutable. Just enough to rattle the markets. Hawthorne imports linked to offshore enigmas. The headline read, "Stock dipping 3% overnight." Elias called a war council at his Upper East Side brownstone. All mahogany panels and crystal decanters. The kind of place where deals are sealed with handshakes and NDAs. Victor dragged me along, his hand clammy in mine. "We fix this together," he said.
Inside.
Elias held court like a dawn, cigar smoke curling toward the tin ceiling. Sabotage. Plain and simple. Someone's got it out for us. His eyes bored into me. Accusatory. I sipped my scotch neat, like a pro, and said nothing. Let him stew. But stew he did. By week's end, the flips accelerated. Elias went public, a tearful interview on CNBC, blaming internal dissent for the leaks, positioning himself as the beleaguered patriarch fighting for American jobs. The backlash hit like a nor'easter, unions picketing our Jersey docks. Twitter mobs, or X, whatever the hell they call it now, branding me the ice queen of imports. Victor came home hammered from a strip club debrief with the boys, reeking of cheap perfume and cheaper bourbon. "Why didn't you warn me, Izzy?" Dad senor. Pushing too hard. I stripped off my yoga pants, the one stained from a spin class I never finished, and snapped. Pushing? I've been holding this family afloat while he plays king. Ask him about the ledgers. Victor. Ask him why we're $5 mil short. He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the Warhol print on the wall. First crack in our marriage. Courtesy of a Hawthorne rot. Alone. I plotted. Revenge demanded layers. Like the tiramisu at Ferrara's, sweet on top, bitter below. Step 1. Isolate Elias. I fed Marco more breadcrumbs, targeting his mistresses. The Park Avenue one. A Botox socialite named Lydia. Got a package, printouts of Elias's emails promising her the moon. Funded by company cash. She lawyered up, threatening divorce, Elias's fourth. A record even for the Upper East Side. The others followed suit, one by one, draining his personal accounts dry. He lashed out at the next family dinner.
Ovvero buco ati del posto.
His fork stabbing the plate like it was my heart. You're poisoning everything, Isabella. Victor sees it now. Victor stared at his wine. Silent. The flip again from United Front to wedge driver. Elias was mountebank master, turning son against wife with whispers of her ambition and my legacy. The tension coiled tighter. A spring ready to snap. November brought blizzards, blanketing the city in white lies and gray skies. I worked remotely from a WeWork in Flatiron, screens glowing with transaction webs I'd mapped like a serial killer's pinboard. Elias's bribes? traced to shell companies in Delaware, funneled through a crypto exchange in Miami. The Ponzi? Tied to a dead Russian whose yacht accident screamed insurance scam. And Mendoza, the crushed worker, his widow still scraped by in the Bronx, raising grandkids on SSDI. I visited her unannounced. A Tupperware of arroz con gandals from my mom's recipe as cover. Rosa Mendoza was steel-wrapped in floral muumuu. Her English clipped but eyes sharp. You from the company? They send checks sometimes. Not enough. I told her the truth, or enough of it, about Elias's hand in her husband's death. She didn't cry. She cursed in Spanish. Low and venomous.
Ese cabrón.
God sees all. Before I left, she pressed a faded photo into my hand. Raoul, smiling in a Mets cap, arms around a young Victor at a company picnic. Your husband knew him.
Good man.
Don't let the snake win. That photo became my talisman. Tucked in my wallet next to Victor's wedding band, the one I'd hawked in a weak moment last year for payroll. It fueled the next phase, the personal gutshot. I hacked Elias's calendar, not hard. With his password still, Eve 1995, a ghost from the past. There, sandwiched between board calls and mistresses, was a lunch with a federal prosecutor from the Southern District. Discussing leniency, the notes read. Elias was flipping again.
Offer me up as the fall guy.
Emails I'd forged in his name?
No.
The real ones. The ones I'd buried for Victor. He was trading my freedom for his. Singing like a canary to save his skin. The decision crystallized then. Over cold coffee in a Starbucks on Wall Street. No more half measures. The climax was coming, and it would split the world in two, heroes and villains blurring into shades of gray. I prepped like a heist movie, but realer.
Rawr.
Marcos sourced untraceable burners. I drafted affidavits with a lawyer from my Deloitte days. A pitbull named Kendra, who owed me for burying her firm's Enron Light scandal. We met in a dim karaoke bar in Koreatown, belting out Patsy Cline between strategy sessions. This is scorched earth. Izzy, Kendra warned, her red lipstick smudged from a Marlboro stolen in the alley. You sure? I nodded, throat tight. He's not just stealing money. He's stealing lives. The plan: leak the Mendoza file to the press. Timed with Elias's meet cute with the feds. But with a twist. I'd include Victor's name. Force him to choose. Brother or husband. The betrayals echo chamber. Designed to echo forever. As Thanksgiving loomed, the city thrummed with holiday frenzy, Rockefeller tree lights piercing the dusk. Vendors hawking roasted chestnuts that smelled like false comfort. Victor and I hosted a farce of normalcy with crystal flutes and a butterball from Fairway. Elias arrived last, bearing Chateau Margaux like a peace offering. Under the table, my foot brushed Victor's, a silent SOS. But Elias dominated, toasting to resilience, his eyes gleaming with unspoken threats. Midway, through pie pumpkin, spiked with rum from my secret flask, the doorbell buzzed. Marco, disguised as a courier, delivering the package, a thumb drive labeled Family Secrets. I excused myself, plugged it into the smart TV. The screen flickered to life. The Mendoza accident footage. Grainy but damning, Elias barking orders as the pallet buckled, then fleeing like a rat. The room froze. Victor's fork clattered. What the hell? Izzy. Elias bolted up, face purple. You bitch. This is defamation. But I hit play on the audio, his voice. Tinny and panicked. Confessing to Evelyn in that 1995 letter. digitized and damning. The baby's not mine. Your father's. Victor's eyes widened, pieces slotting into horror. Dad? Izzy. Is this? The flip was total now. Elias from accuser to accused, lunging for the remote. I sidestepped, heart pounding like a jackhammer.
Choose.
Victor. Him or us. Blood or the lie. He staggered back, the room spinning into chaos. Elias snarled. She's lying. All of it, for control, but the seed was planted. The divide cracked wide. Outside, snow fell thick, muffling the screams as Victor chased Elias into the night. I stayed behind, breath fogging the window, watching taillights vanish into the whiteout. The revenge had ignited, but the fire was spreading to all of us. The fallout from Thanksgiving hit like a freight train derailing in Penn Station, messy, unstoppable, and scattering debris for blocks. Victor didn't come home that night, or the next. His texts were ghosts. Need space. Processing. Elias vanished into his brownstone bunker, lawyers swarming like yellow jackets. The press? They feasted. By Black Friday, the Post screamed, Hawthorne airs dark secret. Incest allegations rock dynasty. Sensational slop, but close enough to truth to blister. X lit up with threads dissecting us. Hawthorne horror trending. Armchair therapists debating if I was avenger or abuser. She's the real monster. One viral post read, with a doctored pic of me as a cackling witch over ledgers. Others crown me hero. Finally, a woman calling out the patriarchy's wallet. The divide was delicious. The controversy I'd craved. But victory tasted like ash when Victor finally surfaced, unshaven and hollow-eyed, dumping a duffel on our bed. I need a DNA test. Izzy. And a divorce lawyer. The words landed like a sucker punch. But I didn't crumple. I'd braced for this. The collateral in my war. Victor. Listen, he held up a hand, palm scarred from a childhood sailing mishap with Elias. Don't. Just. Was it all a lie? Marrying me to get to him. His voice cracked. Brooklyn boy peeking through the ivy polish. I reached for him, but he recoiled.
No.
I loved you.
Love.
The business. The family, it was real. But Elias. He poisoned it from the start. We argued till 3 a.m. Voices echoing off the loft's concrete beams. Dredging up every grievance. My control freak spreadsheets. His golden child blind spots. By dawn, he'd crashed on the couch, and I slipped out for a run along the West Side Highway. Wind whipping tears I wouldn't admit to. Elias. Cornered. Flipped harder than a politician at a fundraiser. He countersued me. For slander. Emotional distress. The works, claiming I'd fabricated the letter to destroy a legacy. His mouthpiece. A shark from Kravith named Harlan. Paraded affidavits from character witnesses. The mistresses. Now flip-flopping for settlements. Swearing Elias was a saint. The tabloids ate it up, plastering Elias's teary mug on every newsstand from here to Hoboken. Persecuted patriarch fights back, but I had Marco's web and Kendra's teeth. We fired back with discovery motions, unearthing bank records that painted Elias as a vampire sucking Hawthorne dry. The Ponzi ties? Now public, with the SEC sniffing. Mendoza's widow went on 60 Minutes. Her voice steady. He killed my Raoul for profit. Now, let God judge. The public split wider, blue-collar ex-users rallying for her. Wall Street bros defending business necessities. Controversy crackled. Electric and ugly, just as I'd engineered. December deepened the chill. Christmas lights mocking the gloom. Victor moved to a sublet in Chelsea. A sterile box with exposed ducts and no soul. We met for coffee at Le Pain Quotidien. Neutral ground amid the scent of fresh croissants. He looked wrecked. Ty Askew. The test came back. Negative for siblings. But Dad. The rest. I nodded, stirring my latte into a froth. He's a liar.
Vic.
Always was. I did this for us. He laughed.
Bitter.
Us? You torched everything. My name's Mud. The board's ousting me. The flip in him now, from devoted husband to resentful exile. I wanted to scream that I'd borne his burdens, the audits, the cover-ups, but words failed. Instead, I slid a folder across, printouts of Elias's bribes, the ones that could have jailed Victor in 2012. He sold you out then. Don't let him now. Victor pocketed it, eyes haunted, and left without a kiss. The climax brewed in the shadows, a storm front rolling in from the Atlantic. Elias, desperate, reached out through a back channel his golf buddy, a retired judge who'd owed him since a 90s real estate flip. The meet was set for a neutral spot, the Oyster Bar in Grand Central, amid the vaulted ceilings and clatter of commuters. I arrived early, wired with a button cam from Marco, nursing a Grey Goose martini to steady the shakes. Elias waddled in 10 minutes late, coat dusted with slush, face puffy from steroids or stress. Isabella. Let's end this farce. His voice was wheeze. The patriarch deflated. I smiled.
Cold.
End it? You started it. With that letter. With Raoul. With every dime you stole. He leaned in, breath fogging the glass. You think you're clean? Those books you cooked, for me? For Victor. Accomplice. Sweetheart. 15 years in the feds. The threat hung, but I laughed, a sharp, unladylike bark that turned heads. Try it. I'll drag your whole circus down. The bribes, the Ponzi, the mistress merry-go-round. And Victor? He'll testify. Blood or not. He hates you now. Elias's eyes narrowed, the schemer resurfacing. Hates me?
He needs me.
Always has. You're the outsider. The spick with the calculator who thought she could play queen. The slur landed like spit. But I didn't flinch. New York had thrown worse. It had armored me. Outsider? I built this while you golfed.
And tonight?
It ends. I tap my phone, sending the live feed to Kendra. Every word.
Captured.
His flip complete, from negotiator to naked emperor. He lunged then, not violent, but frantic, grabbing for the phone. Glasses shattered, drawing security. Commuters gawked. Phones out. Live streaming the Hawthorne brawl. By the time cops arrived, Elias was cuffed for disorderly, me playing the victim with a trembling lip. The video went viral, millions of views by midnight. Hashtags fracturing, justice for Isabella versus Elias innocent. Pundits on Fox called me a feminist fury. CNN dissected the family implosion. No clear heroes. Just a morass of motives, leaving viewers picking sides in comment wars that raged like wildfires. Victor called at 2 a.m., voice slurred.
Saw the video.
Jesus.
Izzy.
You baited him. Accusation laced with awe.
Had to.
For the truth. A silence stretched. Then, board vote tomorrow. They're splitting the company, your half. My half. Dad's out. Relief flooded.
Bittersweet.
But as I hung up, staring at the city lights from my balcony, doubt crept. Was this revenge? Or just trading one poison for another? Elias's final play loomed. A wild card in the deck. The arraignment was a circus. Federal courthouse in Foley Square swarmed by press vans and protesters, pro-immigrant groups for Mendoza, MAGA types for business freedom. Elias, in an ill-fitting orange jumpsuit, pleaded not guilty to wire fraud and manslaughter charges. His lawyer, Harlan, spun yarns of frame jobs, but the judge, a no-nonsense Brooklynite, denied bail. Victor testified, remotely, voice cracking as he detailed the embezzlements. My father. He betrayed us all. The courtroom gasped at the incest angle. Though DNA cleared it, twisted family, not taboo. I watched from the gallery, anonymous in a hoodie, heart a war drum. Elias's gaze found me, promising hell. The schemer unbroken, even in chains. Post-hearing, the real tension peaked. Marco warned of a hit, not literal, but Elias's cronies circling, ready to dox or discredit. I hunkered in the loft, blinds drawn, Beretta oiled on the nightstand. Victor showed up unannounced, bearing tie from Uncle Boone's green curry. My comfort. Truce. He looked older, lines etched deep. We ate on the floor, cross-legged like college kids. The TV droning Fox holiday specials. I get it now, he said. Fork midway. The sacrifices. You carried us. Tears pricked, but I blinked them back. Too late. He shook his head. Maybe not. The moment hung, fragile as spun sugar, reconciliation's whisper amid the wreckage. But Elias wasn't done flipping. That night, a package arrived, no return address. Contents spilling like guts, a burner phone and a note in a scroll. Press play. Or Victor dies knowing everything. The video, me. 2012. Shredding those counterfeit manifests. Voice clear. For the family. Blackmail.
Pure.
My sin. Weaponized. The decision tore at me. Release it. Destroy myself. Or bury it deeper. The climax crested, forcing the gray. No innocence left. The burner buzzed like a hornet in my palm. Elias's video looping in my mind, a noose of my own making. Dawn broke gray over the skyline, painting the Hudson in smears of steel and rust. Victor slept on the couch, oblivious, his snores a fragile rhythm against the storm in my head. I could have smashed the phone, flushed the SIM down the toilet like evidence in a Scorsese flick. But Elias knew me, knew the accountant in me tallied costs, weighed risks. Releasing it would gut Victor's testimony, spring Elias on technicalities. Bury it, and the guilt gnawed eternal. I chose the third path, escalation. Call his bluff. Raise the stakes till the table flipped. Kendra met me at a greasy spoon in Hell's Kitchen, Formica counters sticky with syrup, air thick with bacon and regret. Over eggs, over easy. I spilled the tape. Her fork paused, yolk bleeding. Suicide. Izzy. That's conspiracy-level dirt. I shrugged, stealing a strip of her hash browns. Or leverage. We counter-blackmail. She arched a brow, the pit bull grinning. With what? The Mendoza widow, Rosa, had more than photos. Buried in her attic, a journal from Raul, detailing Elias's safety shortcuts. Signed witness statements from coworkers too scared to talk then. Marco had digitized it weeks back, but we'd held fire.
Now?
Ammo. Leak it parallel, I said. Let the public decide whose sins stink worse. The drop hit midday. Anonymous to ProPublica, a non-profit hit squad that loved corporate vivisections. By evening, the story broke. Forgotten voices. The human cost of Hawthorne's empire. Raoul's journal scanned in full. Entries raw as open wounds. Boss says inspections cost too much. Pallets stacked high, feels like Jenga from hell. Accompanying affidavits from 2 ex-workers. Ghosts coaxed out by Marco's silver tongue, and my promise of legal aid. X exploded. Raul Mendoza topping charts. Memes of Elias as a grim reaper in a suit. The controversy bifurcated sharper. Labor advocates deifying me as whistleblower saint. Free market diehards decrying woke sabotage. Fox ran a segment. Is Isabella Hawthorne a hero or homewrecker? Guests bickered. One pundit sneering. She's no better. Cooking books makes her a crook too. The gray deepened. Readers picking scabs. Debating in DMs if vengeance justified the vortex. Elias retaliated from lockup. His flips frantic as a fish on a hook. Harlan filed for a mistrial, claiming media poisoning, but the judge swatted it like a fly. Then the personal jab, a letter smuggled via guard. Elias's network ran deep. Tell Victor the truth about his mother, it read. She didn't die of cancer.
Pills.
Because of you.
Me?
The affair's fruit. The scandal that shattered Evelyn. Guilt lanced fresh. But I traced it. Evelyn's overdose in '98. Ruled accidental. But whispers of depression. Had Elias's lies pushed her? I confronted Rosa over empanadas in her walk-up. Steam fogging the windows. He told her everything, Rosa said. Crossing herself. Raoul heard them fighting. She begged him to leave you, the baby, with your mama. But pride. It kills quiet. The revelation hollowed me, but forged resolve. Victor deserved the full mosaic, shards and all. I drove to his sublet in a rented Prius, anonymous. Plates swapped, rain lashing like judgment. He answered in boxers and a Mets tee. Bleary. Izzy? It's Christmas Eve. I pushed past, dripping on his IKEA rug.
Sit.
We talk, all of it. The video first. My shredding confession. Face young and fierce. His jaw dropped.
You. For me.
Tears welled.
For us.
Elias would have let you fry. Then Evelyn's story. Pieced from letters and Rosa. Victor crumpled. Whiskey bottle shattering on the tile. Dad killed her. Not hands,
but.
Yeah. We clung then, as siblings in ruin. The incest specter lifted, but the blood real. I can't lose you, he whispered. Don't, I said.
Meaning it.
The flip in him, from exile to anchor, mending what Elias rent. But the bastard wasn't sated. New Year's Eve brought his masterstroke. A ploy so mountebank it bordered genius. A suicide note, leaked to TMZ, Elias's handwriting, rambling about betrayal by my own, implicating me in a murder plot against him. Isabella drove me to this, it claimed, dated from jail. Cops swarmed my loft at midnight, fireworks popping like gunfire outside. Ma'am, we need to talk. I played stunned. Lawyered by Kendra in under an hour. The note? Forged. Ink analysis pending. But the timing screamed desperation. Bail hearing rushed. Elias wheeled in looking frail. Oxygen mask fogging. She's destroying me, he croaked to the judge. Harlan spun. Coerced confession. Your Honor. Fear for his life. The courtroom, packed with reporters, activists, held breath. I testified. Voice steady. He's the destroyer. Ask Raul Mendoza's ghost. The judge bought it, partly. Bail granted. $10 mill. Posted by a mystery donor, Russian ties. Marco sniffed. Elias free. But tagged. The game board reset. He called that night. Voice silk over gravel. Truce. Isabella? Meet at the old warehouse. Midnight. Come alone. The bait reeked neutral ground. Symbolic. The site of Raoul's crush. Victor begged off. Trap. But I went. Beretta tucked in my waistband. Heart a tripwire. The warehouse loomed in Red Hook, derelict under sodium lights. Brooklyn sprawls silent, but for distant L trains rumbling like regrets. Elias waited in the catwalk shadows. Silhouette gaunt. You came. No warmth. Just calculation. Endgame, I said, hand hovering near my hip. He stepped forward. No weapon, just a folder. Yellowed pages. Your mother's letters.
To me.
She knew about Evelyn. Wanted money to disappear, you both. The flip, from victim to revealer. Twisting my origin into weapon. Lies, I spat. But doubt flickered, Mom's silence. Her early grave from heart trouble. Elias pressed, join me. We split the remnants. Send Victor away. Family. Remade. The offer hung. Controversial core. Ally with the devil for survival. Powers seduction. Gray as the Gowanus smirk. I laughed, drawing the Beretta, not firing, just leveling. Family, you're cancer. His eyes widened, then narrowed, schemer to survivor.
Shoot. Then.
Be the monster. The moment stretched, rain pattering on corrugated roof. Sirens wailed distant, Marco's tip-off, Victor bursting from shadows.
No.
Just us. Two Hawthorns in the void. I lowered the gun. Decision crystallizing. Not death, but exposure. The world's watching, I said, tapping record on my phone. His confession spilled then full. Furious, the bribes, the overdose nudge, the embezzlements as inheritance tax. I built this. You? A mistake. The tape gold. But the cost, my soul's last chip. As I left, Elias called after. You'll regret. The warehouse echoed empty. But the divide peaked. Readers. Hearing a leak later. Torn. Was I liberator or lynch mob? Victor waited in the Prius. Face ashen. You okay? I nodded, handing the recording. We end it tomorrow. The climax crashed. Waves of consequence. New Year's Day dawned hungover and harsh. Sunlight slicing through the loft blinds like accusations. Victor and I huddled over the recording, his laptop whirring as Kendra transcribed in real time every damning syllable from Elias's midnight rant. This is airtight, she texted. Emojis of handcuffs and champagne. But airtight for who? The leak hit at noon. Via a podcast drop on Spotify, Hawthorne Unmasked, the devil's own words. Listeners surged. Downloads spiking like a crypto pump. Fractured final. Elias confesses versus Isabella trap. Debates raging in quote tweets that devolved into doxing threats and prayer chains. One viral thread. She's no hero. Entrapment's as dirty as fraud. Another. Finally. Accountability. Burn it down. The public cleaved. No victors. Just endless argument. The revenge I'd architected. Now a Rorschach test for America's soul. Elias's response was silence at first, then fury. By dusk, his brownstone ablaze with cop cars, attempted flight, Harlan spilling to cut a deal. The feds hauled him in chains this time. No bail. Straight to MCC's belly. Charges piled. Fraud. Conspiracy. Involuntary manslaughter for Raoul. Accessory after for Evelyn. The Mistress Parade testified. Ponzi sharks flipped. Even the Russian yacht ghost resurfaced in depositions. Hawthorne imports? Carved up in bankruptcy court. My half-reborn as Isabella Logistics. Lean and Latina-led. Victor signing over his share with a ghost of a smile. Start fresh, he said over takeout sushi in the sublet. Our first meal as. What? Exes? Allies? The DNA cleared the taboo. But the blood lingered. A Hawthorne half-knot we couldn't untie. The trial opened in March. Federal courthouse, a zoo of suits and strollers, jurors vetted for bias. But who wasn't? I testified second day. Black sheath dress like armor. Voice steady under fluorescence. He stole more than money. He stole trust. Cross-exam? Harlan grilled. You entrapped him. Yes. Vasquez Hawthorne. Audio obtained under duress. The judge sustained half. But the jury, diverse Bronx faces, leaned in, eyes judging not just Elias,
But me.
Victor took the stand next. Tie straight for once. My father. He made me complicit. But Isabella? She saved me. Gasps rippled. The gallery murmured. Elias. Cuffed at the defense table. Flipped one last time from defiant to broken. Weeping as verdict loomed. Guilty on all counts. 25 to life. The gavel fell like thunder. Courtroom erupting. Cheers from Mendoza's kin. Boos from Elias's old guard. Outside. Protesters clashed. Union signs versus Free Enterprise placards. Cops in riot gear hurting the melee. I slipped out a side door. Victor's hand in mine. The divide echoing in chants.
But the twist?
It came soft. Insidious. In a letter from MCC, Elias's swan song, penned in block letters on commissary paper. You think you won? Check the DNA again. Victor's mine, but you're not done. Enclosed, a paternity test. Fresh. From a lab in Jersey. Not for Victor.
For me.
Mom's old flame? Not Elias. A dock worker. Raul Mendoza, the man he'd crushed. The affair tangled deeper. Mom with Raul. Elias covering as boss favor, pocketing the guilt. Victor? Full brother. Blood of the betrayed. The secret's final berry. I'd avenged a ghost who was kin, making my rage righteous and ruinous. Debate fodder eternal, did it absolve me? Or amplify the sin? Spring thawed the city. Cherry blossoms mocking the scars. Victor, and I divorced quiet, no fault. Assets split fair. He moved west. Seattle rains washing Hawthorne grime. Texting birthdays with emojis of ships and bottles. I rebuilt. Isabella Logistics boomed. Ports humming with ethical cargo. A scholarship fund for immigrant workers in Raoul's name. Rosa came to the launch party. Toasting with Manischewitz. To ghosts who guide. Elias? Rotting in Otisville. Appeals denied. His flips reduced to whispers in Gen Pop. I visited once. Plexiglass between. His face a ruin. Regret? I asked. He grinned. Toothless. You. The question lingered, unanswered. Revenge's ledger balanced uneven, triumph laced with loss. Heroes half-shadowed. New York pulsed on. Indifferent. Taxis honking. Vendors hawking. Secrets spawning in alleys.
Me?
I walked the high line at dusk, skyline jagged as truth, wondering if the betrayed ever fully free. The end? Not happy. Not tragic, just American, grit,
Gray?
gone before you blink.